Hey, I'm Randy, and you're watching The Cheap Audio Man. Here at The Cheap Audio Man, we talk about high-value hi-fi home theater and headphone equipment, and today we're going to talk about whether or not you should go separates. Maybe you should. Maybe you shouldn't. But this product that we're going to talk about today may make it a little bit easier, transition it easier, okay? So sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and let's talk about that stuff. Big shout out to today's sponsor, ramradio.org. You should check them out. They didn't pay me any money. It's for the kids, okay? So to introduce them, I'm going to have two real radio pros, introduce them. Bob and Matt.
Hi, West Valley. I'm Bob Fonseca.
Yeah, and I'm Matt Bearden, and together we are Mornings with Matt and Bob on the mighty KLBJ-FM in beautiful Austin, Texas. We are a rock station. We've been at this game for, well, decades now. Well, that's true, and we have a huge 100,000 watt tower we get to broadcast from, but we're kind of interested in maybe applying to get a job at Ram Rock Radio. Sounds like an incredible thing.
Yeah, Ram Radio is happening, and it's a great thing. Welcome to the world of rock, guys. And I know that everybody there can request their favorite songs on Ram Radio. That's a pretty cool thing. That's legit. Personally, if you were like me, and I know I am, I would play some ZZ Top or some Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yeah, now guess what, West Valley Rockers? It's time to introduce someone who I was introduced to through Bob Fonseca, and the guy's a pretty amazing dude. I hear he even kind of incentivized you guys, or at least inspired you to build your own speaker.
That's
which
pretty
is
cool.
Incredible.
Pretty
Bob,
cool.
Take it away. Who are we here to see?
Here's the man, the internet sensation, your friend and mine. Say hello to Cheap Audio Man, Randy.
Yeah.
So all the details for ramradio.org are going to be in the description and the pinned comment. So go check them out. These kids are going to be playing music that they like, that they curate. So support these kids. Go to the GoFundMe down in the description and give them a buck or two. Separates. This is a topic that I guess could be debated. A lot of people don't want to go separates. A lot of people love separates. Personally, for me, I like separates because I like to find that perfect DAC, find that perfect phono preamp, find the perfect amplifier. But some people don't want to go on that journey, and I completely get it. There are some benefits to going separates. Some of them can be maybe even measurable, definitely audible. But even if you go separates, there's no guarantee that you're going to be getting these benefits. Conversely, going with an integrated amplifier is easy. It's convenient. You probably have a phono preamp installed. There's probably a DAC installed. You don't have to worry about futzing around finding the perfect amplifier. You have one thing to plug in, and not a whole bunch of boxes junking up your rack or a bunch of cables. But if you're watching this channel, chances are you may actually be interested in doing something like that. You may like the hunt. You may like finding new equipment to buy, researching it, watching reviews on it, anticipating it being delivered. But the product we're going to talk about today is the Emotiva PT2. It is a preamp. However, it's kind of like an integrated amp, just without the amplifier. So it does come with a phono preamp. It does come with a DAC in it. It comes with an FM tuner in it, but no amp. So you will have to buy a separate amplifier or not listen to any music. So let's talk about the Emotiva PT2. It's no secret if you watch this channel at all that I'm a big fan of Emotiva as a company and their products. I bought 2 of their products before, actually 3 of their products, before the channel ever really took off, I guess. I purchased the TA100, which is an integrated amplifier. I purchased the Bass XA Mini little amplifier with a headphone jack in it. Then I also purchased the B1 Plus, which is a speaker. Still sold today. Great speaker. The TA100 is an integrated amplifier, which means it has all the bells and whistles, phono preamp, DAC, all that stuff, and an amplifier in it, so it's an integrated amplifier. But Emotiva also has dedicated preamplifiers in the Bass X lineup, so BASX, which means affordable, kind of entry level, but it doesn't sound entry level. It could be the endpoint for you. Actually, my reference system contains almost exclusively Emotiva Base X components. There are two current preamplifiers dedicated to 2-channel in the Emotiva lineup, the PT1 and the PT2. We're going to be talking about the PT2. It comes in at $699. More expensive than the PT1, but it also offers up more features. And those features could be benefits to you. So it's $200 more than the PT1. So let's talk about what makes the PT2 and the PT1 different. $200 more expensive, the PT2 over the PT1, okay? I know, these model numbers get confusing sometimes. What you are getting with the PT2 over the PT1 is extra analog inputs, an extra digital input, and better bass management, as well as a home theater bypass, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Very quickly, on the back of the PT1, one has a phono input, which can handle moving coil and moving magnet cartridges. Next to that, you have one analog input for a CD player, one analog input for an aux, which is any component that you want. So basically what you have here is two free, and I don't know why I said it like that. You have two open analog inputs and a phono preamp. On the PT2, you have 4 open analog inputs and a phono preamp. So it can take moving magnet and moving coil cartridges, and then has a selectable impedance rating. Then you also get an additional digital input on the DAC. This DAC is the same DAC in the PT1 and the PT2. You just get an extra digital input. They both have the Analog Devices 1955 DAC. It's a 24192 DAC. So it's going to be able to handle just about everything. They also have Bluetooth, so AAC and I think aptX on both of them. Outside of the extra digital input, there's really no difference in the DACs here. The big difference here is the bass management on the PT2. So not only does it have a high pass filter with the preamp outputs, which means the amplifier that you have your speakers hooked up to will have a high pass filter on it. So not all the bass is going to your speakers, which makes your speakers be able to play louder and more clean because you're not overloading them with too much bass information. The difference on the PT2 is it's variable. You can dial in the exact high pass filter that you want going to your main amplifier. On the PT1, that is fixed. Is that a big deal? It could be for you. The other notable difference between the PT2 and the PT1 is the variable low pass filter on the subwoofer output. On the PT1, there is a high pass filter option, but it's fixed at 90 Hertz. So there's a lot more flexibility with the PT2. I bet you're getting sick and tired of hearing me say PT1 and PT2. There's more flexibility on the more expensive preamp than there is on the step down version. This is the remote control. I know, pretty generic, very similar to a lot of the other remote controls out there from the likes of Topping, SMSL, but this remote control is a pretty big step forward from the older remote control they had with the TA100. So it's got everything you need, volume control, you can switch inputs, and you can dial in bass, treble, things like that. Tone controls. You can also access tone controls on the front. What you'll do is you'll hold down the volume button, and then you'll get into the tone controls that way. Now, they can be a little bit confusing at first, but if you do it 10 times, you're going to figure out how to do it. Combination of button pushes to get in there. So it's not super intuitive, but like I said, once you do it a few times, you'll figure it out. The last notable difference between the two preamps from Emotiva is the home theater bypass option on the PT2. What one can do is put this into their home theater setup if you want to run a dedicated 2-channel setup. If you want to switch back and watch some movies, Netflix, Stranger Things, or the latest Halloween movie, Halloween Ends, which wasn't very good. I still watched it. It's not very good though. You can watch them for free on Peacock. It's the NBC thing. anyway. I would watch it for free. Probably don't go to the theater. What the home theater bypass does is enables you to put everything in the same system. When you want to watch a movie or television, you just put the PT2 into home theater bypass, and then what you'll do is run everything off of your home theater processor. This will work with other components, but obviously it's probably designed to work very well with the Emotiva processors and amplifiers. If you have a separate home theater processor, then it will work with the home theater bypass function. Doesn't just have to be Emotiva stuff. What you're doing is you're running a signal in and then right out of the PT2 when you have it in home theater bypass. But if you have a dedicated 2-channel setup in your system, then this is a very useful feature. Let's talk about how it sounds. One of the great things about Emotiva products is I feel like they sound pretty neutral. It's not really adding much to the signal on the bottom end or on the top end. I directly compared the TA100, which isn't made anymore, to the Iota VX integrated amplifier, and I thought it was way better sounding. The Iota VX sounded a little bit harsh, a little bit too focused on the top end. The TA100 sounded pretty neutral. The PT2 kind of carries forward that Emotiva sound, which is neutrality, cleanliness, largeness. It's just good. I don't think it's going to offend anybody. If someone's after a really warm, lush sound, probably not the component for you. It's neutral. It's perfect. It's good. I don't think it's coloring the music at all. And it's neutral enough. It's what I use for all of my 2-channel listening. It's the preamplifier that I use for my reference. So let's talk about why the PT2 is a good product that bridges the gap between an integrated amplifier and a full separate system. Since you have an integrated phono preamp, since you have an integrated DAC, this is very similar to an integrated amplifier, just without the amplifier stage. However, with the extra analog inputs over the PT1, there is the option to go deeper into separates later, and you don't have to do it all at once. So at $700, this is by no means a cheap piece of equipment. When you factor in an amplifier like the A2, the Basics A2, you're coming in just over $1,000 for a separate amplifier and separate preamplifier. However, if you want to grow from there, like I did, I use a separate DAC going into the PT2. I use the Gishelli Labs J2. I also use a separate phono preamplifier going into the PT2 now. I use the Project Tube Box S2. I've tried to do this 7 times, okay? Tube Box S2, that's the phono preamp I use. I'm not saying that the integrated phono preamp in the PT2 isn't good. I just personally like the Project, and it should be better. It's $500. It's almost the same price as the PT2 to begin with. I also like the J2. It's around $250 or $300 if you need the USB. That DAC should be better than the one that's in the PT2. I'm getting sick of saying PT2. Point being is you have enough free analog inputs that you can add your own DAC later. You can add your own phono preamp later. For most people though, the DAC and the phono preamp that's already installed is going to be good enough. When I first got the TA100, I actually A/B'd it against another Project phono preamp. I think it was the cheapest phono preamp they had. And there wasn't a significant enough difference for me to keep the Project. So I sent that one back and just used the TA100. Most people are going to be happy with the DAC and the phono preamp already installed. But for people like me that like the journey, that like to find that really tailored sound that's perfect for me, I need those extra analog inputs. So it's worth it for me to spend the $200 extra on the PT2 to have the option of running the exact DAC, the exact phono preamp that I want, or a CD player or whatever else you want to hook up to it. The amount of functionality in the PT2 is pretty outstanding when you consider the variable low pass, the variable high pass, Bluetooth, and all that stuff. There is another product on the market from Parasound. It has almost an identical feature set with the exception of the Parasound has the option to run, I believe, a balanced output. One balanced input, one balanced output. However, it's significantly more expensive. I think that product comes in around $1,400 or $1,600, where the PT2 from Emotiva comes in at $700. So the value proposition is there if you need all the features that the PT2 has. So what are my final thoughts? Final thoughts on the PT2 is I think it's an incredible preamp. If you need kind of like an integrated amplifier experience right off the bat. If you already have that phono preamp you love, if you already have that DAC that you love, then the PT2 maybe not be the preamp for you. You may look at something else from Schit or somebody else that doesn't have pre-installed options. However, at the price point, with the extra analog inputs, with Bluetooth, which I don't really use, but a lot of people do use Bluetooth, and with how it sounds, this is a product that is going to enable one to kind of take their hi-fi enthusiasm to the next level, because it gets you into those separate components. I run the A1 monoblocks with the PT2. You don't have to run monoblocks. I've also used the XPA Gen 3 power amplifier with the PT2. I've also used the Schit Vidar with the PT2. For me, separates is the way to go. I know it's not as convenient. I know I've got a lot more cords junking up the place. I know it takes up more space, but the enjoyment that I get out of the sound signature that is tailored specifically to me, I think is worth it all day long. And I don't see myself ever really being an integrated amplifier guy. I will review them, of course, and I will report on how they sound. But for my system, it's always going to be separates. Because again, I want to tailor that sound. I get that sound that's perfect for me. At $700, I think the PT2 is absolutely worth it if you need all the functionality. With the variable high and low pass filters, though, you can't really pick this thing apart. It sounds great, and it's going to get you into separates, but give you the option to grow to where this really could be your last preamplifier. So if you want to support the channel, you can sign up for Patreon, patreon.com/cheapaudioman. Every Sunday night with Patreon-only Zooms. Also a Discord server, also a Facebook group. You can also use the links in the description. If you buy the PT2, that's an affiliate link. I do get a commission, but it doesn't cost you any more. You can also sign up for Amazon Music or Tidal. Links in the description. Click on the links, sign up. Even if you cancel, I do get a couple of dollars. You can also use the thanks button down at the bottom of the video next to the share button. You can buy me a cup of coffee or not buy me anything. Don't feel compelled to use the affiliate links or to use the thanks button. Don't binge watch anything on Netflix or Hulu. Binge listen, maybe through your PT2, and get your new separate system and fill your soul with happiness. And with that, I'm Randy. I'm the Cheap Audio Man.